So here is my musing about the self, about true self, false self, ego self, soul self, higher self, lower self, Christ self, I am self. I think it gets confusing, and I have come to the understanding that there is only one self, I am, right? But in the human condition, in the human form, it is fragmented into 5 dimensions. Or at a more basic level, it's fragmented within the brain as 2 dimensions, the ego and the soul, or the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And it is these 2 that the Bible talks about continually. The adversity between spirit and flesh, or soul and ego. And that theme is all throughout the Bible, and you can glean something from the Bible if you apply it at that level, right? If you don't think of it as external characters. The stories in the Bible, thanks to Barbara Simons for bearing this out again this morning in her post. The stories in the Bible are archetypes of what goes on within us, within our self, the fragmented self. And so back to my opening statement. There is only one self. The God self is the same as the human self, only in the human form, the God self is fragmented into different dimensions. And we have to learn to integrate and bring these fragmentations into coherence, into one unified awareness. And I've noticed that as I became aware of my shadows, my triggers, and through conscious awareness and conscious acceptance, I was able to heal the unconsciousness, the unawareness. I was able to understand where the shadow came from. And as I healed that, I'm finding that my ego, the ego aspect of the self, is showing up more balanced. You can never get rid of ego. It's an aspect of the one self, but it will be more prominent the more unconscious wounds we still have, because the ego feels the need to defend, vindicate itself, and respond to anything that will diminish your person. It responds to it responds when the unconscious triggers, the unconscious wounds are triggered. And then the ego will show up more prominent in defensiveness. But it is all the one self. And the way to quote unquote get rid of ego, you can't get rid of it, but you can heal the triggers that jump ego into the more unsavory actions, responses. And that is by understanding your shadows, right? And as you integrate the shadows, your sense of self will become more whole, and you will respond less fragmented, less defensive, more whole, more at peace. So it's really just a matter of balance. Those who teach that you can kill your ego, they're just bypassing into a higher form of ego, a spiritual ego, and delude themselves, thinking their ego is dissolved. But it's just taken on a more clever cloak, a spiritual cloak. It still gets offended. It still vindicates itself, but with more finesse, right? So it all comes down to you having to become aware of your wounded points, so that it's just like when I have a cracked finger, the skin on my fingertip is cracked, and I touch that, bump it on the door or something. Oh, that is sensitive. And that's what happens with our shadows, right? Somebody bumps into our shadow and it's sensitive, and right away the ego comes out in defense or an attack, and just exaggerates the wound in the defense of the wound. And so it becomes a cycle of injury, and that's where ego is really prominent in our wounds. So as we heal the wounds, which really just means becoming aware of the wounds, understanding where the wounds came from, and then releasing the people that caused the wounds, because we then understand that they too were functioning from their wounding. And when you can trace it back to that, it's more easy to forgive, and it's more easy to release the tension, to release the trigger point that ego is responding to. And you'll become less aggressive, less hostile, less judgmental, less emotional, and less volatile. And then that's how you can live a balanced way of being.